The Lakers have finally made some signings. Small ones, but they have added players to the roster who will compete during training camp and have a shot of trying to make the end of the Lakers roster, or at the very least, compete with the guys at the end of the roster in order to make the South Bay Lakers squad. What's good? I'm your host, Okechi Apkama, and this is Lakers Digest, coming at you with another video. And before we get into everything we have for you for today's video, guys, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to get those Laker updates. And we are pushing towards 3,000 subscribers, guys, and we are ever so close. So each and every one of you guys who subscribe to the channel really help. Now, with that out the way, let's hop straight into today's topics as the Lakers signed Quincy Olivari to an Exhibit 10 contract. So, for those of you who aren't too aware, an Exhibit 10 contract is essentially a contract for training camp where players will sign that as they will be some of the filler guys to help compete with the main squad, but also have a chance to make the NBA squad if you're able to get a guaranteed contract out of that. So that's what Quincy Olivari has signed, and he is a fifth-year senior out of Duke, sort of out of this realm of guys who came out of the pandemic, so that's why you're going to see a lot more of these 5-year guys or even 6-year college basketball players because they spent so much time due to the COVID restrictions way back when. So Quincy Olivari recently signed that 10-day contract, this is according to Trevor Lane of Lakers Nation, and so he played for the Lakers Summer League squad, and then he was able to show a little bit there, and I think this is part of the reason why the Lakers brought him into, or going to bring him into training camp, because they liked what he saw from the Summer League games, and then also what he did at Xavier as well, Xavier and Rice. So these are his stats over in college. So he started his career at Rice and then finished it at Xavier, and while he wasn't a guy that played too often there, obviously in his freshman and sophomore year, that's when he started to pick it up a little bit there at Rice, and then he exploded his junior year at Rice, averaging just about 18.7 points per game, and then he transferred over the Big East in Xavier, and that's where he averaged 19 points per game to go along with 5.1 rebounds. 5.6 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists, 1.4 steals. So those are pretty solid stats, especially in a pretty competitive conference there in the Big East. And it's important to note that 5.6 rebounds a game, because he is a 6'3" guard, so he's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's able to rebound at a very high rate, which is another thing that makes him very intriguing. The type of player or type of mold that he is a bit of he's a shooter, more of that 3 and D mold, but he is a high volume 3-point shooter, but also a guy that can crash the glass, hit the rebounds, get some boards, and also be a guy who can be a defender, high-level defender, as well, as he was averaging over a steal per game in college there. So bringing in a guy like this caliber is of what the Lakers are kind of looking for. Some of those point-of-attack defenders, guys who can be also good enough from the three-point arc and make shots from there, but also guys that can help them out on the backboards, because the Lakers, for the most part, with the exception of Max Christie, don't have a lot of guards who really go after rebounds at a high rate and do them at a really well rate, because Max Christie is the best Lakers rebounder by far, and nobody else really comes close to it. Maybe Austin Reaves if he's really going after it, but none of the guys on the Lakers roster are really good rebounders, and then it really shows as a team, as while we do have one of the best rebounders in the NBA in Anthony Davis, when he's not in and around the basket or even in the game at the times, then we really struggle with rebounding at a high rate there. So this is, I think, part of the reason why the Lakers are bringing in Quincy, just to get a look at him and see if he's able to maybe even compete for a roster spot, or more likely compete with the South Bay Lakers. He's going to be a guy that's probably going to be fighting for minutes with a guy like LeBron James and even Jalen Hood-Schifino. Hood-Schifino will probably start for the South Bay Lakers at that point guard spot, but those other guard spots are going to be up for grabs, and that's where these battles truly matter for some of these guys, because if you're trying to make it in the NBA, you really want to take these battles in training camp very seriously, because you're going up against top dogs. So guys like LeBron James, guys like Anthony Davis, guys who's done it for a number of years, like D'Angelo Russell, or even now Gabe Vincent. So these are the type of players that you want to show out and impress against, so you can, in order to get your next guaranteed contract or your next spot, like Quincy is looking for. But there's also another player that the Lakers also signed to an Exhibit 10 contract, and they also signed a Kylor Kellyey. So he last year did play in the G League. He played for the Maine Celtics. So he's had a year under his belt in that G League system, and he is more of a Chris Angel build. So he's a 7-footer, so he's a center, so a guy that the Lakers are looking for, that type of player. And then he's a defensive center, which is very important because the Lakers are a team, when Anthony Davis is not on the floor, they really struggle defensively and securing rebounds and just finishing out possessions. So this is according to Johan Buha. Kylor Kellyey, who signed an Exhibit 10 contract. Like I said, he played for the Maine Celtics last season, and he did all right for that squad, as he these were his numbers here, and he started for about 16 games for them out of the 29 games that he played. He averaged just about 8 points per game, shooting about 69%, so all of his points were about the rim. He's not a three-point threat whatsoever. His free throw shooting could use a bit work. He's just about 62% there. But the rebounding was solid, about 6.3 per game. Could be better, though, because he is a 7-footer. But the big stat here is the blocks per game. 2.8 blocks per game last year. That actually led the G League. So he is the G League's league-leading shot blocker. So this is a big reason probably why the Lakers sign him to that Exhibit 10 contract, to see if he can bring that, what he had at the Maine Celtics in the G League level, to that NBA level. Because if he's able to be a little bit of a defensive stalwart and a guy that can step in defensive rebounds, set some hard screens, and then be a guy that can block shots as well, he can definitely add value to this Lakers squad that really struggles, especially behind Anthony Davis, because the type of players they have aren't really of that shot blocking ilk. A guy like Christian Wood has never been known to be a shot blocker. While he has been a guy that has blocked shots, obviously, in his career and been at that center position, he is more known as an offensive center. And then you have another guy like Jackson Hayes, who, while albeit is very athletic and probably one of the most athletic big mans they have on the squad, he's a guy that isn't looked as a huge shot blocker either. So this guy, that's why Kelly is a little bit different than those guys they have. Even Colin Castleton, while he is a pretty good shot blocker in his own right, isn't up to the level where Kelly is, where he kind of hunts this and goes after it. He, like I said, he's very similar to a guy like Chris Birdman. So a guy that is definitely going to play hard on every possession, a guy who's going to set hard screens, grab rebounds, and block shots, which is a very vital thing in this league, and it's something that the Lakers really struggle in when Anthony Davis isn't there on the floor. But so I do think some of these guys can help with not only with the competition in training camp, which starts in about 6 weeks, but also have a shot to make that end of that Lakers roster there, or maybe snag a two-way spot from one of the guys who already own it. Or more likely, these guys are going to be competing at the G League level to see if they can make a noise or make a name for themselves over there. Because, like I said, so the guys of the Lakers who are probably going to be set in stone currently at that G League level is going to be guys like Jalen Hood-Schifino, who isn't projecting as too many minutes early in the season, and then also a guy like Maxwell Lewis, who's in his second year trying to get better as a player. Then you got Colin Castleton, who's a two-way player. Also, Armel Tormel, who's another two-way player they signed this year, and Blank Henson, who's also another two-way player, and then I'll go along with Bronny James as well. So those are the guys who are kind of making the South Bay Lakers squad. And so these two guys are hoping to put their names in that hat and in that ring to make that squad and hopefully make a name for themselves. Because for a couple of these guys, it does take some time and maybe a couple of G League teams to really make your way. That's what happened with a guy like Alex Caruso, where he started with the OKC Blue G League team, and then he found his way to the South Bay Lakers squad and then made a name for himself there. And then he was able to grow on a player because he finally got NBA minutes, and then that's when he became that NBA level, or one of the best perimeter NBA level defenders out there, Alex Caruso. But that definitely took some work. It didn't happen right off the bat, and that's similar circumstances with these couple of guys that the Lakers have drafted. But that's why you pick them up in these situations in the hope that these guys can grow into something and grow into NBA level performers. But that's probably going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Like I said before, there is 80% of you guys who are not subscribed to the channel just yet. And if you guys want more of that Laker news, Laker coverage, just every and all things LA Lakers, you guys want to come right here to Lakers Digest so you guys don't miss any of those updates. And make sure you just comment down below. What do you guys think of these new Exhibition 10 guys? Do you think they can make an impact on the Lakers roster, or are they more destined for the South Bay Lakers squad? Let us know in the comments down below. I have been your host, Okechi Apkama, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.